Hi, in this video I'm going to do a walkthrough of Subsec M, which is a Max4Live MIDI sequencer which I've been working on. So Subsec M is a sequencer that allows you to individually sequence each aspect of a melody. So you can set the gate, ratchet, pitch, octave, 2 layers of transposition, velocity and length, all with individual directions, length, and also advanced modes as well. So Subsec M also allows you to have 2 subsequences for each of these parent sequences, which allow you to set the probability that a value is passed through, or also the time mod, which allows us to have our sequences running at different rates as well, again with their own sequences with direction, length, and advanced modes as well. So I'll go through how these work in just a little bit, but I'll go through the main interface. So when you load the Max4Live device, there's a little window here, and you can select open to open up the main window. And in the interface at the top, we have our global settings. So from the drop down here, we can set the rate that our sequences are running at, and we can also set our scale. So if we want, then we can quantize our pitch values to a particular scale that we've got. So let's create just a basic sequence. So I'll change some of these and just put some random values in. So when we're creating values, you can just click and drag to change each step and the value that it's at. There's a few shortcuts that can be handy as well. So for example, if we want to copy and paste a value, we can hold shift whilst we're dragging, and then we can move that same step to wherever we want, or we can hold option click and we can change all of the sequences at the same time if we want them with the same value. But I'll just create some random ones. Let's do the ratchet at 3 steps and this at 4 steps, just so it's kind of easier to hear kind of what's actually going on. So we can see whenever there's an active step, it's going to pass through each value. Let's put this at 4, for example. So the advantage of kind of having them at different lengths and things as well just means that we can add some variations to melodies as they go on. Let's do an octave one as well. So let's just make this, say, 6 steps. We can do +1, -1. The octaves can do up to +3 or -3, and we'll leave that the same. And again, yeah, they have directions as well, so we can have this one go down, up, or back and forth. So let's just put this one on back and forth. So you can hear it's kind of sort of changing over time, so we can get these kind of variations with our sequences all running independently. Let's talk quickly about advanced modes as well. So each sequence can advance with a time mode. So on the left hand side with this time symbol, the sequence will just be running at the rate set by our global rate settings and also our time modifier, which I'll talk about in a sec. Or you can have it on the gate advanced mode, which means the sequence will only advance when there's an active step in our gate sequence. So let's just put our pitch one on gate advanced mode, and you can see it's only progressing with the gate sequence. So it just adds something a little bit different. Because our octave sequence is still running at the rate of our global rate, again, it's just adding these variations, and we can change our ratchet one to do the same. So we can do exactly the same on our 2 layers of transposition. There's the velocity and length as well. The velocity is just 0 to 127, so standard. Transpose, we can do plus or minus 48 steps. And our length is 0 to 100, with 100 being the MIDI note will just be the length of the rate that we've got set. So it would be like a quarter note. And if we put it, say, at 50, it would be sort of half that length. So you can just change the length the MIDI notes at. So that's how all the basic kind of parent sequences work. Let's go through the subsequences. So subsequences work by allowing you to set the probability that a value in the parent sequence will be passed through, so 0 to 100% chance. And the time mod sequence allows you to change the rate that the sequence is running at as a division or multiplication of our global rate. So if we have this to times 2, times 8, and then -4, for example, whenever that step is active, our parent sequence will be running twice as fast, 8 times as fast, 4 times as slow. So we can get some interesting kind of variations. Each of these sequences also has, again, their same direction, length, and advanced modes as well. So probability, also to see each individual kind of sequence's subsequence, then you can just click on the value at the top and you can see it's kind of will change to be the octave subsequence, the trans subsequence, velocity subsequence, and so on. You'll notice, say, because our advanced mode is on gate, that our time mod sequence is grayed out. That's because it's just running at the rate, it's just running only when there's an active sequence in the gate, so it won't make any difference. So it's grayed out. But let's hear how we could use that. So for example, on our probability sequence, let's set a few different values. So let's do kind of 50%, 100, and then a really low one like 11%. And this will just change whether a value is so we're getting sort of interesting rhythmic kind of variations, basically. So whenever this step is active, there's going to be a 50% chance that whatever value is there, 100% chance, 11% chance, so on. And again, yeah, if you wanted, you could run that with the gate advance, so the probability would progress based on whether there was an active value in the gate or not. So let's talk about what's maybe the most interesting, which is the time mod. So the time mod sequence, like I mentioned, will run at multiplications or divisions of our global rate. Let's set a short sequence here. So let's say have a couple of steps running twice as fast. Let's have it running 4 times as fast, and maybe we can also have it running twice as slow for a few steps here. So if we watch the gate sequence, let's turn all of them on as well, actually, so it's easier to hear what's going on. So you'll see the gate sequence is going to change. So this is where we get some interesting rhythms going on as the gates running at the time of our time mod sequence. So during this patch it's running twice as fast, during this bit it's running twice as this is twice as slow, and then twice as fast, and so on. Where it can get interesting as well is the difference in how that sounds between the advanced modes. So our sequence here is just running at the global rate we have set. But if we have it on the gate advanced mode, then the time rate will change only when there is an active step. So let's turn a bunch of these off. And whenever there is a step, there's going to be running at a different rate between each one, so you can add some interesting variations. Let's put our global rate a bit faster. So you see this is just only advancing whenever there's an active step, and so we're getting the variations in time. And again, this applies to each one. So we were just doing this on our gate sequence, but we could do that on our ratchet sequence, we could do it on our pitch, our octave, all of them. Where that can get a bit interesting, so if we want our octave sequence to be running a lot slower than our pitch sequence, for example, let's just put it to 1 step, and we'll put this 4 times as slow. And our pitch sequence is running just at normal speed. Let's also put our gate back to normal so we can hear that. So we'll put all these values back to 1. So our octave sequence is going to be running 4 times as slow, and what that will mean is there'll be a period where it's running +2 octave, then -1, so on. So yeah, it just allows us to add a bit more complexity to the sequence, and it sort of lends itself to these kind of evolving melodies that change over time because there's different variations with every kind of step or kind of time period. Cool. So yeah, I think that's a basic rundown of kind of how Subsec M works. Also talk about a few of these things up here. So this is a pattern selector, which is basically just kind of allowing you to have a few different presets. So if we go to number 2, we're on a blank sequence, we can have new different values, or we can go back to number 1, which is what we have before. The lengths will be reset actually. So yeah, that will just allow you to, if you want to start a new one but don't want to open a new device, you can just skip through. And then we have some sub menus. So we have a randomizer. So let's open this up. So the randomizer works in that it will randomize all of the values in either the parent sequence, which are these buttons here under this column, the probability sequence, or the time mod sequence. And we have a range slider so we can set the range of a randomization. So Ratchet, for example, has a range between 1 and 16. Transpose is ±48 and so on. So if we wanted to randomize our transpose parent sequence with like a big range, so you can just hit here and we'll see the values are randomized. And we could set, if we wanted the transpose time mod values, then we can do this column and we'll get different values with the range working. So each of these buttons that you click will just change the values that are in the sequence. If we want to randomize everything, say we want to randomize the direction, the length, the advanced mode, everything, our global settings will stay the same, but we can hit this global button and this will just give us a completely brand new sequence with each of these individual values changed, so you can get some interesting variations. Hit global again. Let's change. We can change the rate here. So that just allows you to just get a kind of brand new fresh thing. There's obviously a lot of controls, each with 2 subsequences per parent sequence, each with their own individual values. So that just allows you to just do it all and yeah, get some interesting things going on without manually clicking through. So that is the randomize menu, and then there's also some settings. So in the settings, we can save or load our pattern bank. So all of these patterns, you can save them in just your Mac as a file, as a JSON file, and you can also load a sequence that you have as well. So you can just, the sequences will still save like they normally will with the Ableton set, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you do want something across projects or whatever, then you can save your patterns like that and load in. You can also set the default value for the pitch, velocity, and length. Kind of why you'd want to do that is that, as I mentioned, the probability sequence decides whether the value is passed through or not. So that's kind of obvious for something like gate, it's either on or off. But for something like pitch, for example, the probability will decide whether it's the default value or the value that you have set. So if it was on 50% and it was A2, there's either a chance it's A2 or your default value. So you can set the default value here in the settings as well. Same for velocity and length. You can only do it for these because for ratchet, octave, and the transpose, it's kind of, again, this on or off where it's either 0, like no value, or 1 for ratchet being just the same as you would expect. And then you can also change the transpose to happen before or after scale. So if it's on before scale, our transposition, these two layers, will apply to the melody before we quantize it. Or if we do it to after, then it will quantize it to the scale, and then we can transpose it after the fact. So it just gives you a bit more flexibility. You can also set the length for all of the sequences in the settings. So if we change this, we can just quickly move all of them at the same time. This is just if you want everything to be running at 8 steps, for example, just makes it a bit quicker. And then we have window size as well, so we can set it to large to have a bigger screen if you can't see it, or you can set it to small if it's in the way. So just some sort of utility stuff in there. Yeah, so that is pretty much everything I think to go through. It's free to download on Gumroad. There'll be a link in the description of this video. But thanks for watching.